Alright, let's dive into something that's both mind-blowing and a little unsettling. Imagine this, AI systems are now capable of designing entirely new viruses. Not just any viruses, but ones that target bacteria, and potentially, in the future, even more complex organisms. Sounds like the plot of a sci-fi movie, right? But it's happening right now, and it's raising some serious questions about where this technology is headed. Here's the deal. Researchers have been using large genome models, basically, AI systems trained on massive amounts of DNA data, to create viruses that can kill bacteria. Now, on the surface, this might sound like a good thing. After all, we are in the middle of a global crisis with antibiotic-resistant bacteria, and these AI-designed viruses could be a game-changer for treating infections. But here's where it gets tricky. The same technology that can design helpful viruses could, in theory, be used to create something far more dangerous. Personally, I think what makes this really interesting is the way these models work. They're not just copying existing viruses, they're hallucinating new ones. It's like the AI is dreaming up genetic sequences that nature hasn't even thought of yet. And here's the kicker. Some of these AI-designed viruses are actually functional. They're not just theoretical, they're real, and they work. One thing that immediately stands out is how these models are pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible. Traditionally, designing proteins or viruses has been a painstaking process that requires deep biological knowledge. But these large genome models? They're operating on a level of abstraction that's almost alien to us. They're not just predicting the next base pair in a DNA sequence, they're understanding the context of that sequence in ways we're still trying to wrap our heads around. What many people don't realize is that this isn't just about creating new viruses. It's about the broader implications of AI in biology. If you take a step back and think about it, we are essentially handing over the keys to the genetic kingdom to algorithms. And while that could lead to breakthroughs in medicine, it also opens the door to misuse. What if someone uses this technology to design a virus that targets humans? It's a question the researchers themselves are asking, and it's not one we can afford to ignore. Now, let's talk about the specifics. The AI system in question was trained on bacterial viruses, or bacteriophages, and it was able to generate entirely new versions of a well-studied virus called Phage 174. Here's where it gets fascinating. Some of these AI-designed viruses were genetically distant from the original. They had changes, sometimes dozens of them, that would be highly unlikely to occur through natural evolution. And yet, they still worked. In my opinion, this raises a deeper question: how much control do we really have over these systems? The researchers had to impose strict constraints on the AI's outputs, filtering out sequences that were too long, too short, or too different from the original virus. But what happens when someone removes those constraints? What happens when someone decides to train a model on viruses that can infect humans? A detail I find fascinating is how these AI-designed viruses managed to overcome bacterial resistance. In one experiment, a cocktail of natural bacteriophages failed to infect resistant bacteria, but the AI-generated viruses evolved to do just that. This isn't just a proof of concept, it's a glimpse into a future where AI could revolutionize how we treat infections. But again, it's a double-edged sword. The same mechanisms that make these viruses effective could also make them dangerous if misapplied. If you take a step back and think about it, this is part of a bigger trend in AI, the shift from narrow, task-specific systems to more general, creative models. Large language models like GPT-4 are already rewriting the rules for text generation, and now large genome models are doing the same for biology. What this really suggests is that we're entering an era where AI isn't just a tool, it's a collaborator, and sometimes, a competitor. So, where does this leave us? Personally, I think we're at a crossroads. On one hand, This technology has the potential to solve some of the most pressing problems in medicine. On the other hand, it's a Pandora's box we can't unopen. The researchers are calling for better governance, but as they point out, regulation has been struggling to keep up with the pace of innovation. What makes this really interesting is the ethical tightrope we're walking. We can't afford to stifle progress, but we also can't ignore the risks. It's a classic case of, just because we can, doesn't mean we should. And yet, history has shown us that once a technology exists, it's almost impossible to control. So, here's my closing thought: as we marvel at what AI can do, let's not forget to ask what it should do. This isn't just about viruses or bacteria, it's about the kind of future we want to build. Are we ready for a world where algorithms can rewrite the code of life? Because whether we like it or not, that world is already here. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the cutting edge of science and technology. Thanks for watching.